China vowing to retaliate as necessary after President Trump announced the U.S. would hike tariffs another 10% starting March 4th. Joining us to discuss the tariffs, DOGE, and President Trump's economic agenda, Messina Group CEO Jim Messina, who served as President Obama's campaign manager, American Action Forum President Douglas Holtz-Eakin, former director of the Congressional Budget Office. Good morning to both of you. I'm actually going to start with Mr. Douglas Holtz-Eakin for a second, which is this. I just want to go on tariffs and I want to go on DOGE because they're happening at the same time. Sure. We've seen the market move in the past couple of days, in part, I think, on the backs of both of those things. And I think there's now a new reality that maybe what Elon Musk said back in November about a temporary hardship might be real. Do you think that it's real? Do you think it's going to be extended? What do you think is really happening here?
Well, I think there are two different things here, Andrew. For the first on the tariffs, the issue here is not just that the president is going to levy these tariffs on Mexico, China, Canada. It's that there's, in sort of the analogy of the Fed, there's no forward guidance. No one knows what the end point is. What does he want to accomplish? How high do they go? Why do they go that high? How do you make a plan in this environment? And that's terribly unsettling to markets, very bad for the business community as well. On DOGE, with the judge's decision last night that the firings were illegal because they came from OPM and not from the agencies themselves, we're into a second stage. The second stage is already underway. The Office of Management Budget sent a memo out to all the agencies and said, prepare for large-scale reductions in force, develop a plan and get those plans back to us. That's the way you should do this from the get-go. If you want to reduce the size of the footprint, you make a plan and you make a strategic decision about who stays and who goes, and that's what they're underway now. That does feel permanent to me, and that is a path down which they can go and they are planning to go.
Jim, is there a rainbow at the end?
It's a great question, Andrew. Look, I think Doug said something really smart and really right, which is just what this is causing is uncertainty. I advise numerous CEOs around the country, and what they're doing right now is doing a little bit of panic. Like they're putting together war rooms. They're doing, worst case scenarios. Because to Doug's point, they don't know where this is all going. They don't know how far these tariffs are going. And let's be honest, tariffs are tax increases. They're tax increases on businesses and normal Americans. And people are starting to really believe, to your point, that this stuff's really going to affect the economy. You're seeing it in consumer index, confidence index. You're seeing it in the stock market, and now you're seeing it in the polls. And it's really creating uncertainty. And what do CEOs hate more than anything? Uncertainty.
So here's the question. Do we believe that we're going to have this uncertainty for the next 3.5 years, or do you think that there's a finish line in all of this? Meaning, do you think that tariffs actually get put in place and then we know? I mean, there's an argument to be made that actually it's better to have the tariff in place and just know what's going on so you can either make the investment or not make the investment rather than sort of play it out back and forth. No?
Well, look, the best thing would be we don't.
Jim, go ahead, and then we'll.
Yeah, we know tariffs cost jobs. The conservative Peterson Institute said the last time we did tariffs in 2018 in the steel industry, it protected 8,700 jobs and cost us 75,000 jobs. So what we're going to do, we shouldn't do tariffs. We know that tariffs are the wrong way to do this, but we're going to. And I don't think there's any reason to believe this is a one-round thing or it's going to go away pretty quickly. That's just not the history of how these things go and how this president governs.
Doug?
So, Andrew, what I would say is the one thing we have learned about candidate Trump is that when he says something, President Trump does it. I think you should take seriously his promise to levy tariffs and adjust accordingly. I don't think all the tariffs are created equally. Tariffs against China feel very permanent. There's a bipartisan consensus that China has to be dealt with. There's no reason to believe that those are going to disappear. Canada and Mexico, that feels like these tariffs are part of a negotiation. We don't know what the president exactly wants from them, but they could easily go away. And this notion of reciprocal tariffs, I think, will prove to be utterly unworkable and will not, in fact, come to fruition in the way he's described them. So you're going to have to watch the different tariffs in different sort of phases because some of them are, I think, very real and permanent. And they're going to be permanent tax increases, and some are just negotiating tools.
Jim, you ran a campaign and won. And the conversation you were just having, some of the points you made, it's exactly what we were saying at the top of the show. You're very calm. We'll kind of see what happens. There could be some job losses. CEOs are looking at uncertainty. Look at some of the factions of the Democratic Party and how they're reacting to this. And we did have an election that was fairly definitive recently, and I think there was a certain message. Is it possible Democrats should just be sitting back and waiting to see what happens? And I just hear people urging them to go scorched earth. And I think people, I don't know if that'll work. How do you come back in the mid? What's the right strategy for 2 years from now in the midterms?
Look, I think the last thing we should do is go scorched earth. I think that'd be a mistake. I think what is true is Democrats win when Democrats fight for the middle class and are the party of economic innovation like they were with the Atari Democrats in the early 2000s, like Obama was, like Clinton was. We need to get back to that party. And right now, I think, we've let our party become defined by our opposition to Donald Trump, and I think that's a mistake. I think we need to start standing for things that make the middle class better, and I think if we do that, we'll be back in 2 years, and if we don't, we won't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking you might say, because it gets pretty shrill at times, and there's times where I can't take it. I don't even try to argue with it at sometimes. I just kind of laugh and shake my head. Usually when I'm watching CNN.
Right. Doug, I want to know about DOGE and whether you think that actually, unto itself, what kind of savings you think we're ultimately going to see from this, given what you've done over the years, and you know where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, I think the savings have been wildly exaggerated. So take the personnel. We spend about $350 billion a year on personnel, and suppose they have a reduction in that by 50%. That's $175 billion, which is real money for most people, but the deficit was $1.8 trillion last year. It is not going to address the fundamental fiscal problems. It's not big enough. There's the attempt to stop spending on other things, and there's a wide variety of contracts they've stopped, things like that. It is not obvious to me that those are real savings. The authority to spend is still there. It hasn't been rescinded. The legality of those, what will turn out to be impoundments, is something the administration wants to contest, and which I think will ultimately end up in the courts, at the Supreme Court. And if it proves that they can't do the impoundment, that money gets spent. So there's been a lot of sound and fury, but there's been no real progress on the deficit so far.
Do you think, therefore, it's not worth doing, or do you think it needs to be done in a different way? What are you suggesting?
Well, I think they should take their name seriously. They're supposed to be about government efficiency, some productivity measures. Just across-the-board cuts in personnel with no targeted strategy doesn't make sense to me. They seem to be moving to a targeted strategy. I think that's a step in the right direction. Trying to measure the efficiency with which the government delivers the services that people actually want, that'd be a good idea. Modernizing the technology, the original mandate of DOGE, way overdue. Across the agencies, we are operating decades behind. Do that.
Doug and Jim, let me ask both of you a question. We had Kevin Hassett on the broadcast just yesterday, and he suggested that when you look at the 10-year note right now, that it is benefiting, if you will, as a result of DOGE and the things that the administration is doing. Joe raised the question of it's either that or you could believe that the economy is turning down. Which one do you think it is? Jim?
Well, look, I want to go back to something that Doug said for a second, which I think is exactly right. What DOGE should do is focus on the thing. Last time I was on your show, Joe and I were bonding over the fact that we need regulatory reform in government. We need more efficiency. Yeah. We need to get rid of some of the red tape that Doug and I have been fighting against for years. And none of that stuff's happening. That's the easy stuff that should be getting done. And instead, we're doing press release by government. And that's, I think, the missed opportunity here. And I think, that and the tariffs create this uncertainty that we talked about. And you're starting to see it in the economic numbers, in the consumer price numbers, and in the stock market. Those two things combined are a problem.